reference it after that. So you can actually create a nested kind of array of the ordering of the CSS files.
If you're customizing a copy of the Before Master, do you have any concerns going forward with upgrades?
This would ensure that if there are upgrades,
It just wouldn't touch this?
it wouldn't touch this custom
So then you
master.
could just on your own test it with the new version?
Yeah.
Any problems with doing the cascading and priorities within the first custom CSS file you create?
No, not at all. That's
So
outside of
all the usual-
SharePoint.
All the usual rules apply. I mean, wouldn't
Right.
expect that because it goes to the browser anyway. It's the browser that does that.
Right, and the benefit to, so if we open up our source here and reference this link, so there's no difference if we want to go into Designer and reference our custom CSSs by using this, right? By just changing that, reference it right there to point to our custom CS. The benefit of using SharePoint CSS registration, that tag actually is because SharePoint will actually cache it for you. You don't have to worry about caching. You don't have to put in HTML tags to say, okay, cache this or don't, which files you reference as well.
Is it also tracking versioning so that it's sending to the browser an updated string to tell it the CSS is now changed?
It's not doing the versioning in terms of core v4, the way core v4 versioning, this parameterized string that happens afterwards, but it does cache it for you.
So it caches on the server side.
On the server side, yeah. The other new property that I really enjoy here is being able to reference what browser it's for. So before, if you had IE6, IE7, IE8, you'd say, okay, only load up this CSS if it's less than, the version is less than IE8, right? And that would reference it. Before, you could do that in HTML in the link tag, but now you can actually do it within SharePoint as well. So that's the other new property that I'd really like a lot of you to leverage. If your site doesn't really play well with, let's say, Safari on the Mac, which there are some issues there, you can actually say, not IE, or you can use any of their conditional expressions to say, okay, if it's on this platform. Okay. So we're not going to use that. Sorry?
Is there a list or something for the syntaxes that are supported?
The syntax for the conditional expressions, it's what the CSS standards are. So just go to W3C.
It's not a SharePoint.
It's not SharePoint specific at all.
Okay.
Yeah. So here we're just going to say core v4. And what you also notice here is that version equals 4. So if you had existing, if you have a company of 10,000 employees, you got 5 divisions, 10 departments, and only the IT department, possibly maybe the HR department, has upgraded to 2010, and all the other departments have not. Well, you can show certain content based on the version that they are running. So if sales and marketing is still running version 3, they could have specific CSS just associated to them within that environment. Still using the same master page, but having CSS and even content placeholders and content itself focused on the UI version. So we're just going to switch over here. We've already applied it as a master page. Let's just load it up, make sure everything works fine. If we right-click, view source, and we'll notice here, where is our custom? Custom CSS is not loaded yet. Put the full URL there. So to make sure I am in Contoso. Okay.
In the master page.
You modified
The wrong master page.
the master instead of custom master.
Oh, did I?
Before, and you made custom.
Oh, there you go. That's what threw me off. Okay. Thank you. Custom.master. Thanks. And of course, instead of being trying to find out whether you are actually implementing this, you can actually put CSS in there. So all the links should turn red. There you go. Okay. So we got text turning red, and we know our CSS is being loaded. That's great. All right.
Is
So
there anything available for IE or in Microsoft tools that's comparable to Firebug in Firefox for debugging CSS rules?
there is, and that's what I was going to get into next. Was pressing F12 in your browser, IE 8, IE 9 will load up IE Developer Toolbar. For IE 7, you just need to download the toolbar as a separate add-on. But when you press it the first time, it opens up another window. At the top right, you can pin it to your browser, which is great. Very similar to our SharePoint Designer and our code view and our design view. You can use the select element by click to highlight areas. So if we highlighted this area and we noticed it's red, why is it red? We not only get the document object model on the left-hand side of the tree, but we also get these tabs here, which provide you the inherited styles, how the CSS is applied, or the view I like to work with is in trace styles, and actually sums it up based on the property. So under color, I noticed core v4.css had the body as that, and custom.css, whoever made that change made the color red. So if I uncheck this, it actually changed the style right there on the fly, which is great. Now, if right on the browser I notice, hey, this is great, but I want to see what it would look like green without, or sorry, blue without touching the CSS, I can just do it right in the browser. So right there. Now, of course, this is just for your client machine. It has nothing to do with the server. It has nothing to do with custom.css. Do a refresh, and it's all gone. So it's a great way to look at that. What we're going to start off with is one of the common things for an externally facing, public facing site is fixed width. So we're going to start off with that. Before we do the fixed width, I'm going to go ahead and put in some styles here for some of the CSS might be new to everybody, but if we switch over, let's have a look at. So we're trying to, do a fixed width. Let's select the select element by click. Highlight this area here. So we've highlighted the wide content area. What you'll notice here is that there's actually two in this div tag. There's actually two properties, and the values class and ID. And the way you actually kind of hook into those in CSS is for a class you would use a period. So for this div, there's two classes: S4-PR and S4-wide content area. So all that tells you is most probably this is probably being used elsewhere. So when you do start making changes to CSS in your custom.css, make sure you view all the other different sites, all the other different web parts that you're making changes to. And ID. The general best practice is that within a generated page, there should only be one ID, a unique ID per page. So S4-main area will not appear anywhere else but on this, would not appear anywhere else on this page except for this div tag. Okay. If you use your custom solutions, if you use S4-main area or you use any other ID multiple times, it's not going to break the browser. Nothing's going to bad happen. It's not like code. But the general best practice is you use one ID to emphasize what that area is. You could use multiple classes.
Your page won't validate though if you have.
Your page would not validate, but it won't break it either. But yeah, you're right. So if we wanted to access S4-master,